Now, the improvement report was starred, and we come back to one or two components of that in our next meeting. The corporate report was left unstarred because I think, Sigurd, you particularly wanted to raise a matter on the CCIO, CIO working with NHS England.
Yeah, I wanted to share some good news, I think, with colleagues. And I'm particularly pleased that Malcolm's here, because this is very much to do with how the collaboration between our two organisations in this particular field, the technology and going digital, has gone. Keith McLean and Will Smart, who are, as you will recall, joint appointments between our two organisations, will from now on attend the Technology and Data Assurance Committee that I chair from now on, both to give them visibility of what's going on in the provider world, but also to give us a visibility and have them report on their activities. There isn't, I believe, Malcolm, an equivalent committee on the NHSE side, but that's obviously something for you to consider. They, that is Keith and will have desks here at Wellington House, and will be encouraged to spend at least one day a week here, which I think again is really quite important if it's to be a genuine appointment. Bob is planning to create a digital operating committee alongside the executive committee to include both Keith and Will, but also Pete Sinden, Ian Wallen, and this is really important, our 4 regional directors to drive the digital agenda down into the regional and then local level. And allied to that, and this is where, Malcolm, I think your support for this would be quite helpful, what we would like to do is to persuade the regional IT leads in NHSE, who, because we don't have any equivalents like that, to in effect transmogrify themselves into joint IT leads for the two organisations. Bob is going to have a conversation with Matthew Swindells along those lines, if he hasn't already had it, but your support would be very welcome. And Bob will act as the business sponsor for domain G within the larger NIB program, which I will circulate a copy to all concerned so that you can see what the various domains are. And that is the one that's to do with paperless at the point of care. Yeah, by all means hand it out, but don't, for God's sake, start trying to study it now. This is for home reading afterwards. The other things, just quickly from our recent meeting, is that there's been quite good progress on the internal work program. You would all recall that we came into being on the 1st of April, so 6 months ago and a bit. And a lot of the work to actually provide folk with the tools to do the work has been completed now. Where there have been hold-ups, it's been largely because of the time it's taken us to recruit and bring into post the new people who would have to be owners of those tools, and it's been that really that's held us up, rather than delays in providing and doing the work. It's also clear now between us, and I think that's equally important, that the role of NHSD, formerly the Information Centre, is absolutely central as the source of timely single source of truth, or the data lake, if you like. And we're not going to try and duplicate what they do, nor I think will you do, but we will be, as the two key customers of that organisation, be pushing them as hard as we can. There's also some good news on the secondary use of anonymised data after the Caldicott 2 review, and where 6 months ago I was a bit worried that we might not be able to have access to all the analysis that we might need in order to work out the best pathways and so on. I'm feeling better about that now. A thing that you may or may not have picked up on is that CQC is now to include data security in its inspection regime, which I think is right and proper, but we need to get alongside them and make sure that we work with them. And then finally, Richard and I have agreed that IT and data risks, including obviously security, will be managed primarily by his Audit and Risk Management Committee, who will obviously then tell us what risk mitigation they want to put in place, into our area. And then finally, before I close, I just wanted to let us know that Caroline has just accepted to join the committee, which is, I think, really good news. Thank you.
She wasn't leaned on at all in that respect. It was Thank you, Sigurd, and just Malcolm.
Just briefly in response, yes, to all of those. We held a time out for my board a month ago. We brought in NHSD plus Will and Keith and had a really focused session on these domains. If people haven't seen this document, Brown Papers 2020, I think it's very impressive. Starting now to chase different work streams with ownership and steps and stages. Secondly, you raised the point about regional ITs. That's beyond my pay grade. But if Barb will have a word with Matthew, I'm sure we can resolve it. It seems to me to be entirely consistent with what we're trying to achieve in the regions between our different organisations.
Yeah. So I think we, on this area of technology, I think we are now very, very much more aligned, and it's beginning to work. So thank you for that, Sigurd, and for your help. And as we know, Pete Siddenden is also working very closely with CQC on a joint project between our two organisations. Is there anything else in the corporate report that colleagues would like to raise at this stage? Can I thank all chairs of committees for the hard work that's done in committee, because that's the whole point of this board and this structure, that a lot of work is done in committees, and having this corporate report is very helpful. But we don't want to rework the work of those committees.